Self-help is not a passing fad. In the United States, it's a $13 billion industry. We are an aggressively self-aware people. As a public speaker and an adult learning professional, my work overlaps with self-help, so I've definitely contributed to this industry. But I bet most people in this room have as well. If you've ever read a book, if you've ever worked with a therapist or hired a coach to help you set better boundaries, you have also built the self-help industry. In all of our relationships, boundary talk and boundary work, they are everywhere surrounding us. Unlike rules, which we make to regulate other people's behavior and actions, boundaries are only for us. They're not a subtle way to control other people, though we've probably tried that before, haven't we? Boundaries are a means of self-governance and self-leadership. Boundaries are essential at work, where we are routinely asked to stay late, to pitch in on projects far outside of our role, or in some other way, to be a team player by doing more than is reasonable to ask of us. Even in our personal lives, setting good boundaries is essential. You may have invested thousands of dollars between self-help books, therapy, and seminars, and I trust that they have paid off in your quality of life and your overall comfort. And look at you now. You did the work. You created boundaries, they protect you and your sense of self and your priorities, all while still allowing for connection. At work, you are no longer the go-to person for quick favors, for free committee volunteerism. You leave the office at a decent hour and you have become a master of the calendar decline without guilt. When you get home, you're fully present with your family until you get back in the car and head back to the office the next day. You initiate tough conversations with loved ones about difficult topics, and you know that you must agree to take a break when things get heated. Because you worked on your boundaries, your interpersonal conflict is low. Your personal peace is high. Life feels really comfortable. Also, your therapist is very proud of you. Good job. But what if your comfort is costing you growth? What if your boundary setting has created a cozy little trap for you, keeping you from further personal development? To be sure, life brings us challenges, conflicts, friction, and many of these can be resolved just by setting better boundaries. We teach our kids this. One way to prove that we've learned a lesson is to make sure we don't make that same mistake again. So we prepare ourselves, we set better expectations, we draw clearer boundaries, and we write scripts that work the next time this situation arises. I don't know about you, we do tend to, as humans, get really good at scripting the days of our lives. We can settle into a really comfortable life groove, and our days start to feel very predictable and knowable and familiar. But what is the price of living life by script? What do we miss when we have a chokehold on these boundaries that keep our lives predictable? In other words, what does our single-minded pursuit of comfort cost us? As it turns out, reaching our full potential as human beings depends not just on our ability to set boundaries, but also to intentionally and sometimes strategically expand others. Modern psychology pathologizes the mental health responses that we have to the challenges that we experience in life. But the theory of positive disintegration says these challenges are growth tools and they're necessary for us to reach our ideal future self. When I first heard about this, my first thought was the theory of positive disintegration. That sounds supremely formal and yet absolutely alarming. It sounds like something you need to take antibiotics for, right? But it's none of those things. It's actually been around for about 100 years. It appeared first in the early writing of the Polish psychologist Kazimierz Dabrowski. Disintegration doesn't sound positive to me, but that is the oxymoron in the term, right? The theory of positive disintegration suggests that the very life challenges that have the potential to break us down are absolutely necessary for us to grow. In his theory of positive disintegration, we're going to call it TPD for short, because even growth theories need some good branding in 2026. Dabrowski mapped 5 levels of growth. Level 1 is a state of primary integration, where we're the product of our biological impulses and just basic social conditioning. We accept the world and our place in it uncritically. We basically just download and run the operating system that we've been handed throughout our lives. And Dabrowski claims that most of us never move past level 1. Eventually, though, life happens, and we rack up life experiences that challenge what we believe that we know. And some of us aren't up for that tension between what we think we know and the reality that's unfolding before us. It literally does take work to resolve that tension, and our primary self may not come out the other side of it exactly the same. If we're lucky, it might be replaced by a more thoughtful and intentional self, a leveled up individual who questioned what they believed, refined what they knew, and grew from the experience, which I think of as disintegration of the most positive kind. The remaining levels in TPD describe how well we use conflict and tension to continually refine our personal values on a lifelong journey of becoming our most evolved self. And that's what Dabrowski calls level 5, our most evolved self. And he posits most of us will never get there. At level 5, our actions, our words, our work are completely aligned with our beliefs. We're full of deep wisdom. We experience very few inner conflicts, and we demonstrate the highest level of regard for self as well as for others. So we could spend a lot of time on this, but this very, very brief, somewhat oversimplified overview of TPD, our takeaway is this. Conflict and tension are not to be feared or avoided entirely. They are required for us to make conscious decisions about who we want to be. Creating a boundaried life that only offers us comfort means that we rob ourselves of legitimate chances to put our values and beliefs to the test and see what we're made of. Now, do I think that you need to start saying yes to all the invitations to work late and jeopardize your hard-won work-life balance? No. Am I suggesting that you let your in-laws visit for as long as they want without a return ticket? Absolutely not. The boundaries that you've worked for and are working for you are great as they are. Keep them. Keep going. I do recommend that while you're setting boundaries in areas that make sense, you're also expanding other boundaries in ways that let you test and refine your sense of self. Please do experience things that will potentially push against your integrity and give you a chance to take a beat, change direction, or maybe double down and move toward your ideal future self with intention. At the risk of poking some very drowsy, sleepy, cozy, comfortable bears around me right now, I want to insist that comfort is a great goal and it is not the end game. We need to stop grasping for a script for every single life challenge that we encounter. We can't get so caught up controlling outcomes in our lives that we forget to embrace and maybe even occasionally create little moments that go off script. About 15 years ago, my public speaking business matured from a scrappy startup to a kind of early, cushy middle age with orthopedic shoes and all. I was very proud of my reputation and the word of mouth that kept me in a very comfortable, lucrative niche. I got really good at staying in my narrow lane, saying no to anything that might disrupt my workflow or threaten my peace. The problem was that every speaking engagement started to look and sound like the last one. I knew my script so well that I could repeat it in my sleep, and I probably did, at least a couple times. There was very little spark or magic in my work days. So I made a decision to toss the script. For 1 year, I said yes to every request to speak, even if the kind of speaking that I was invited to do is something I had no idea how to do, or that I was confident that I could do well. Just 1 year of saying yes to everything. And at the end of that year, my business and I had grown far beyond any reasonable expectation. I expanded my network into new industries by speaking to audiences I never would have reached without that year of yes. I gained experience writing custom workshops, and that content allowed my company to expand its scope, services, and clientele. I personally grew into a stronger communicator with broader appeal and a much more flexible presentation style. So as it turns out, going off script for an entire year literally changed my trajectory of my business and me personally. Now here's the good news. You don't have to commit to a year of saying yes to everything to benefit from this. You don't need such a dramatic personal challenge. I'm just kind of heading that way. I'm full of dramatic personal challenges. And still, you might benefit from asking yourself just 3 questions. 1, am I comfortable or am I in a rut? There is a difference. One has candles, the other has dust. Maybe you've become so consistently cozy that you are, in fact, a little bored of things and maybe a little stagnant. 2, am I sacrificing growth for comfort? If you haven't felt truly challenged and pushed in a while, you might not have grown very much recently. I'm a big fan of resting in between phases of challenge and growth. We definitely need that rest period. But you know in your heart if your current rest phase has somehow defaulted into a semi-permanent state of complacency. 3, where in my life can I intentionally go off script today, expand a boundary, and take one step closer to my ideal future self? You don't have to commit to a full year of yes. You just need one slightly uncomfortable yes. Just one. You can commit to one yes today after you leave here that expands your thinking and broadens your horizons. Openness to new experiences, regardless of where we are in life and how comfortable we have become, will help us to build the continued resilience and growth that we need to shape our ideal future self. Your most evolved future self, and more importantly, the world that is going to benefit from that person, they're counting on you to occasionally go off script, get out of your comfort zone, and keep growing. Thank you.